The studio lights blaze like interrogation lamps, too bright, too hot, exposing every flicker of expression. The applause sign flashes, the band hits its final brassy note. And in that split second before the cameras glide in, something shifts in the air. Something sharp, electric, almost dangerous. Tonight isn't just another late-night laugh fest. Tonight, the temperature in Studio 6B is about to rise. Before we step into that moment, before the smile tightens and the laughter thins, make sure you subscribe to Fame and Frame, like this video, and drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. Because what happened under those lights? You'll want to be part of the conversation when it explodes. She steps out to thunderous applause. Margot Robbie radiant, poised, a shimmer of silver catching the spotlight like armor. The audience rises. Phones lift. Somewhere in the balcony, someone gasps her name as if invoking royalty. She smiles wide, practiced, devastatingly charming. But there's something else behind it tonight. A stillness. Calculation. Across the stage, already grinning, already clapping, is Jimmy Fallon, king of playful banter, master of the safe joke, captain of late-night comfort. The set of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon glows in its familiar blues and warm ambers, the skyline twinkling behind them like a painted illusion of calm. They hug. It's quick, polite, and then they sit. The band fades. The applause settles into a hum. Jimmy leans forward, cue cards balanced in his hand like harmless props. He opens with easy charm, compliments about her latest film, playful teasing about red carpet fashion, a joke about an on-set mishap. The crowd laughs exactly where it's supposed to. Margot laughs too. Her voice is light, musical, controlled, but there's a tightness around her eyes that the camera almost misses. Jimmy's rhythm is effortless. He leans back, crosses his legs, tosses another punchline into the air. The audience roars. Margot nods, playing along, but her fingers trace the seam of the couch cushion beside her. Once, twice, like she's grounding herself. Then it happens. Jimmy glances down at his card. A half-second pause. A shift in posture. His grin changes, subtler now, edged with something curious. So, he begins, voice lilting with mock innocence. There's been a lot of chatter online. The audience murmurs in anticipation. Margot's smile freezes, not visibly, not to the untrained eye, but something in her shoulders goes still. Jimmy continues, about that interview clip. You know the one. A ripple of laughter from the crowd. Nervous? Excited? Hard to tell. Margot tilts her head slightly. Which one? She asks, her tone smooth as silk. Jimmy chuckles. Oh, come on. The moment. People are calling it iconic. The word lingers in the air like smoke. The camera cuts to her face. Perfect makeup. Perfect composure. But her eyes flicker just once. A flash of memory. Of headlines. Of commentary threads dissecting her tone, her expression, her pause. She laughs. Softly. Ah, she says. That moment. The audience laughs too, relieved. The tension breaks, almost. Jimmy leans in, playful but probing. So were you actually mad? Or was that just, great acting? The crowd oohs. It's lighthearted. It's teasing. It's late-night fun. But the question lands heavy. Margot's smile remains. Yet it doesn't reach her eyes now. She shifts slightly in her seat, crossing one leg over the other with deliberate grace. Mad? She repeats. Jimmy shrugs theatrically. Twitter seemed to think so. The skyline backdrop feels suddenly artificial. The studio lights harsher. The laughter thinner. Margot inhales, slow, controlled. It's interesting, she says carefully, how people decide what a woman's face means. The audience quiets. Jimmy blinks. Just once. Oh no, I didn't mean. I know, she interrupts gently, still smiling. It's just funny. If I look serious, I'm upset. If I look focused, I'm angry. If I don't giggle at every joke, suddenly it's a headline. A few claps ripple through the audience. Tentative. Supportive. Jimmy laughs, a touch louder than necessary. Hey, we love serious Margot. Do you? She asks, her tone light, but her eyes sharp. The room shifts again. Somewhere off camera, a producer stiffens. Jimmy's grin falters for half a heartbeat before snapping back into place. Of course. I mean, you've played some intense roles. You're incredible. And yet, she says softly, When I'm intense in real life, it's a problem. Silence. Not the awkward, fumbling kind. The heavy, watchful kind. Jimmy glances at the audience as if inviting them to laugh, but they're unsure now. The band members exchange quick looks. A camera operator adjusts focus, zooming in slightly closer than planned. Margot's posture is flawless. Shoulders back. Chin lifted. But her voice has changed, lower now, steadier. You asked if I was mad, she continues. Why does that matter? Jimmy clears his throat. It doesn't, it was just a joke. I know. She nods. And I'm just answering. Her gaze doesn't waver. The tension is no longer subtle. It's alive. Pulsing. Jimmy flips his card, searching for the next safe topic. Well, let's talk about the new project. Sure, she says. But she doesn't break eye contact. For a second, just one, he looks like he's lost control of the room. The applause sign flickers uncertainly, then dims. The audience senses it now. This isn't scripted banter. This is something else. Something raw. Something teetering between honesty and confrontation. Jimmy forces a laugh. You're scaring me now. Margot tilts her head again, almost playful. Am I? The word hangs. The camera captures it all. The faint tightening of Jimmy's jaw. The subtle arch of her brow. The way the audience leans forward collectively, breath held. Backstage, someone whispers into a headset. Jimmy tries to pivot. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. Why? Margot asks softly. Another beat of silence. And suddenly, the show that thrives on easy laughs feels like a high-wire act with no net. Jimmy's smile is still there. But it's thinner now. Margot folds her hands in her lap. Calm as a storm eye. The red recording light on the main camera glows brighter. And just as Jimmy opens his mouth to speak, the screen cuts to commercial. The audience gasps. And when the show returns, nothing will feel the same. The applause when they come back from commercial is louder than necessary, manufactured, almost desperate to reset the mood. The band punches out an upbeat riff, bright and brassy, as if sound alone can scrub away what just happened. The skyline glows again. The cameras glide into position. But something has changed. Jimmy Fallon adjusts his jacket as the red light flicks on. His smile is back, polished, television ready, but there's a faint tightness at the corners of his mouth. Across from him, Margot Robbie sits exactly as she was before the break. Spine straight, hands folded, expression serene. Too serene. Welcome back. Jimmy beams, voice pitched half a note higher than usual. We're here with the amazing Margot Robbie. The audience cheers again, but it's uneven now. Curious. Watchful. Margot inclines her head graciously. Thanks for having me. Her tone is velvet. Smooth. Controlled. Jimmy flips his card, glances at it, then back at her. So let's talk about the new film. You trained for months, right? Intense schedule. Yes, she replies. Very intense. He nods eagerly. I heard you did most of your own stunts? I did. He laughs lightly. See? That's intense. That's the intensity we like. A few people laugh. It lands softer than it should. Margot's eyes flick toward the audience and back to Jimmy. Intensity's fine, she says, as long as it's in the right context. There it is again, that undercurrent. Not loud, not aggressive, but unmistakable. Jimmy leans back, crossing his legs. You know I was kidding before, right? We joke around here. I know. She nods once. I just think it's interesting what becomes a joke. The band members freeze mid-smile. Jimmy's fingers tap against his cue card. You mean the clip? Yes. He laughs nervously. It went viral. That's a good thing. For who? She asks. The audience inhales collectively. Jimmy blinks. Well, for everyone. It's publicity. Margot's lips curve into a faint smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Publicity is funny. Can build you up. Or reduce you to a facial expression. A murmur rolls through the crowd. Jimmy shifts forward now, elbows on knees. Are you saying we reduced you? The question hangs heavy. Margot tilts her head slightly, considering him. I'm saying sometimes the narrative gets written before the person gets to speak. Silence. The studio feels smaller. Hotter. The air thick with stage lights and anticipation. Jimmy glances briefly off stage. Just a flick of the eyes. A producer raises 2 fingers signaling time. He nods almost imperceptibly. We would never want you to feel that way here, he says carefully. I didn't say I did. Her voice is soft, steady. But I'm just answering your question, she finishes. The power dynamic shifts again. Subtle, precise. Jimmy's usual rhythm, interrupt, joke, pivot has slowed. He's listening now, measuring. He forces a chuckle. Okay, let's clear the air. Were you upset in that interview or not? There's a nervous ripple of laughter from the audience. They want resolution, a clean answer, a punchline to release the tension. Margot leans back slightly, mirroring his earlier posture. No, she says calmly. I wasn't upset. A beat. I was focused. The room quiets. And when women are focused, she continues, it tends to make people uncomfortable. The audience erupts, not in laughter this time but in applause. Real applause. Some cheers. A whistle from the balcony. Jimmy smiles but it's tight. Controlled. I don't think anyone's uncomfortable. Margot's eyes meet his directly. Are you? The question slices through the studio like a blade. Jimmy exhales through his nose a quick burst of air. He laughs but it's thinner now. Not at all. Good. She nods once. The silence that follows is deafening. The band leader glances toward the control booth. No cue to play. No music to soften the edges. Jimmy clears his throat. You know, the internet loves drama. They love to make something out of nothing. Yes, Margot agrees. They do. And that's what this was. Nothing. She studies him for a moment. Was it? She asks quietly. The audience shifts in their seats. Jimmy's smile falters just a crack. What do you mean? He asks. Margot's voice drops half a register. Not louder. Just deeper. I mean, sometimes nothing is just something people don't want to examine. A collective murmur rises again. The temperature in the room feels 10 degrees higher. Jimmy leans back, folding his arms loosely. A defensive posture disguised as casual. Are you saying I don't examine things? I'm saying, she replies evenly, that when a clip goes viral of me not laughing at a joke, the conversation becomes about my attitude instead of the joke itself. The air tightens. Jimmy's jaw flexes subtly. So you didn't like the joke? The question lands heavier than he intended. Margot's gaze doesn't waver. I didn't think it was funny. The audience gasps. A few scattered claps. Then silence. Jimmy blinks. Wow. She smiles faintly. See? That reaction right there. He forces a grin. You're tough. I'm honest. The words hang between them like a challenge. Jimmy glances again toward the wings. A stage manager subtly shakes their head, no break yet. He leans forward, lowering his voice slightly. Okay, let's be honest then. Did you feel disrespected? The studio goes completely still. Margot pauses. 1 second. 2. 3. Every camera zooms in. I felt, she says slowly, choosing each word like a blade from a drawer, that sometimes the line between humor and dismissal is thinner than people realize. The audience erupts, half applause, half stunned murmurs. Jimmy's composure flickers. I would never dismiss you, he says quickly. I didn't say you would, she replies, unblinking. But you're implying. I'm explaining. Their voices remain calm. That's what makes it electric. No shouting. No theatrics. Just 2 professionals locked in a battle of subtext. Jimmy exhales, leaning back again. Okay, so what should I have said? The question is half challenge, half surrender. Margot's lips part slightly. For the first time tonight, there's a glint of something sharper in her eyes. You could have asked why I didn't laugh, she says. The audience murmurs again. And why didn't you? He presses. She studies him. Because the joke wasn't about the work, she says softly. It was about me. Silence. Jimmy opens his mouth and closes it. The band members stare at their instruments as if waiting for permission to breathe. A producer's voice crackles faintly in someone's headset. Jimmy swallows. I didn't mean it that way. I know, she says again. But this time the words don't soften anything. They sit there, 2 silhouettes under blinding lights, smiles half-formed, eyes locked. The audience doesn't know whether to clap or hold their breath. Jimmy glances at the clock mounted just beyond the cameras. 30 seconds to segment end. He looks back at her. Well, he says carefully, I appreciate your honesty. Margot nods. I appreciate the platform. Sounds gracious. Doesn't feel like peace. The applause sign finally flashes, desperate for closure. The audience claps loud, uneven, unsure. Jimmy turns to the camera. We'll be right back. But as the band plays them out, he leans toward her slightly, off mic, barely visible. And whatever he whispers makes her expression change. Not angry. Not amused. Something else. Something colder. The cameras fade to black before we can hear a word. And when they come back, the confrontation won't be contained to the studio anymore. The cameras fade back in, but this time the energy is fractured. Not playful. Not polished. Fractured. The band plays, but the notes feel hollow now, like background noise to something far more volatile. The skyline behind them glitters as always, an artificial calm painted across a city that never sleeps. Yet inside Studio 6B, sleep feels impossible. Jimmy Fallon clears his throat as the applause sign flashes again. The audience claps obediently, but the rhythm is uneven. People are whispering to each other. A woman in the third row is already typing furiously on her phone. A man near the aisle shakes his head slowly, eyes wide. Across from him, Margot Robbie sits composed, legs crossed, fingers resting lightly on her knee. She looks calm. Too calm. Jimmy forces a smile toward the camera. We're back with Margot Robbie. The cheers are softer this time, curious rather than celebratory. There's a beat. A long one. Jimmy inhales. You know, live television is unpredictable. A faint ripple of laughter. Margot tilts her head slightly. That's what makes it exciting. Her tone is steady. Not sharp. Not mocking. But there's a quiet authority in it now. Jimmy nods. It does. He glances at his cards, then sets them down on the table. A small but noticeable surrender. Let's do this without the cards, he says. The audience murmurs. Margot watches him carefully, eyes unreadable. I never want anyone who sits in that chair, he continues, gesturing to her seat, to feel misrepresented. The word hangs heavy in the air. Margot doesn't interrupt. So if anything I said tonight or before came across that way, he trails off. The audience leans in. Margot studies him for a moment. Not with anger. Not with softness. With assessment. Intent and impact aren't always the same, she says gently. A hush falls again. Jimmy nods slowly. That's fair. There's no joke this time. No pivot. No punchline. Just acknowledgement. And for a split second it feels like the storm might finally pass. But then, a phone screen lights up in the front row. Then another. Then 5 more. The glow spreads like wildfire across the audience. Because somewhere beyond those studio walls, the clip has already begun to circulate. A producer rushes toward the control booth, headset pressed tight to their ear. A stage manager whispers urgently off camera. The red live indicator above the main lens suddenly feels ominous. Jimmy notices the movement in the crowd. His smile tightens again. Margot sees it too. What's happening? She asks softly. Jimmy hesitates. Behind them, a monitor, meant only for internal feeds, flickers for a fraction of a second. And there it is. A social media post. Then another. Then a flood. Split-screen clips of the earlier exchange. Captions in bold, dramatic fonts. Hashtags multiplying by the second. Margot shuts down Fallon. Awkward live TV moment. Did Fallon cross the line? The audience isn't just watching anymore. They're participating. Jimmy swallows. Well, he says carefully, I think the internet's having fun. Margot's lips curve into a faint, almost ironic smile. They always do. The band stops playing entirely now. Silence hums in the air. Jimmy leans forward. Do you regret saying it? The question feels heavier than any before. Margot doesn't look away. No. A single word. Clear. Unapologetic. The audience reacts instantly. Some applause, some gasps, some stunned silence. Jimmy nods once, absorbing it. Okay. He forces a small laugh. Well, that's going to be everywhere by tomorrow. Probably by tonight, she replies. Another flicker of phones lighting up in the darkened rows. Backstage, a producer signals to wrap it up. Cut to the next segment. Regain control. But control feels theoretical now. Jimmy turns to the camera. Margot Robbie, everyone. The applause swells, louder this time but chaotic. Charged. Margot stands gracefully. She smiles at the audience, genuine, warm. She waves. But when she turns back to Jimmy, their handshake lingers half a second too long. A silent exchange. No hostility. No warmth either. Just understanding. The band launches into a closing riff as she walks off stage. Silver fabric catching the light like a blade slipping back into its sheath. The cameras cut to commercial. But the story doesn't stop there. Because outside the studio, it detonates. Clips flood timelines within minutes. Reaction videos appear before the show even finishes airing on the West Coast. Comment sections ignite. Some praise her composure. Some defend his humor. Some dissect every micro-expression frame by frame. Media outlets pick it up before midnight. Headlines sharpen the narrative. Words like clash, showdown, tension dominate the feeds. By morning, analysts are debating it. Body language experts slow down the footage. Think pieces bloom across entertainment columns. Was it empowerment? Was it overreaction? Was it a simple misunderstanding amplified by the internet's appetite for drama? Inside his office, Jimmy scrolls through the avalanche of commentary. Jaw set, expression unreadable. Across town, Margot prepares for her next press appearance. Phone buzzing relentlessly on the table beside her. Neither speaks publicly about it again. But the clip keeps living. Replaying. Reframing. Reinterpreting. Because in an age where every raised eyebrow becomes a headline, silence can be louder than shouting. And under those studio lights, in that carefully constructed world of laughter and timing, something real slipped through. Not explosive. Not screaming. Just honest. And honesty on live television can feel like the most dangerous thing of all. So what do you think really happened in that room? Was it a necessary moment of truth? A misunderstanding blown out of proportion? Or a rare glimpse behind the polished curtain of late-night television? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I want to hear your take. And if you crave more shocking, dramatic, behind-the-scenes moments that Hollywood never planned for you to see, make sure you subscribe to Fame and Frame, like this video, and turn on notifications. Because under the lights, the real stories don't always follow the script. And the next one might be even bigger.